Well, I'm thrilled to be here tonight, especially because I hope it's the first of many of our joint presentations, especially with this kind of a turnout. So now, what are the two things that everybody has to have when they leave home? They absolutely can't leave home without them. The answer, of course, is the wallet and the cell phone. And after tonight, I think we'll all learn that soon, if not around the corner, we'll only have to leave with one of them. That and, of course, a lipstick, if that's appropriate. But usually when a speaker starts, they ask you to put your cell phones away and turn them off. Actually, I would like to know what's in everybody's pocket so I get a sense of what devices you have. So if you can whip them out, that would be great. Just don't email or text. And you don't have to put the lights on like we're at a rock concert. But it just gives me a little hint if we've got how many BlackBerry users are there here versus how many iPhones and Android phones and some of those others. All the ones Jeremy wants you to use. Anyway, thanks. So tonight, my job is to really give you an overview of the mobile landscape. Many of you probably know a lot of this, but so bear with me. But I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be highlighting a couple of the key trends that are affecting this unbelievably rapidly growing industry, as well as illustrate some of the best practices that businesses are using to reach customers, drive sales, engage them, and get loyalty from their dear customers through the mobile devices. So how big is this market? I like to think of it in terms of that word I learned from Sesame Street, ginormous. I think it's over 5 billion users. Now it might be about 5.6 billion, which is roughly 87% of the world's population has a mobile device in their hands. There are about 1.2 billion users of the mobile web. Now what that means is really that, and we hear this every year, and I know you in the industry have heard this, that pretty soon there'll be more people browsing on their mobile devices, browsing the web on their mobile devices, than they will be browsing on PC devices. I've heard estimates that say 2013, says 2015. I've heard estimates that say November, so we never know, but that's coming up. Anyway, over 50% of the US population uses smartphones. Now that number 18 months to 2 years ago, was about 24%. That's how amazing this is. And of course, we all know that the growth is being spurred on by the fact that our carriers are so nicely subsidizing these wonderful devices, as well as that we've got much better connectivity going on. Key retailers, our favorite big box stores, are reaching everybody through their mobile devices. You can browse them. At least 60% of the population has already bought on these devices. And of course, we know that 21% of the 18 to 24-year-olds prefer to purchase products on mobile devices. And over 50% of the close to 1 billion Facebook members are accessing Facebook on a daily basis on their mobile phone. What do we do on the device? Well, I think we all know that we text and we email and we take pictures and we download apps, but we can do so much more. We're playing games, we're taking photos, we're watching feature films, we're scanning checks and depositing them into our checking accounts. We're doing absolutely everything that you can imagine. I like to think of it as, my phone can do everything except cook dinner and pick up the kids, which I wish maybe next year it's going to be able to do that. And tonight, what I'm going to do is review a little bit about how businesses are driving sales, engagement, and loyalty through these devices. And I'm going to concentrate on 7 key areas. We're going to review SMS text campaigns, mobile optimized websites, branded applications, QR codes, location-based services, a little bit about targeted advertising and retargeting, and then Jeremy's going to take it away with mobile payments. Let's talk SMS campaigns. SMS, for those of you who don't know, really refers to short message service, which is another term that's commonly used as text messages. And last year, there were 8 trillion text messages sent. I think my teenage daughter was responsible for about half of those. No, but I'm not. So it is really an incredibly good entry point for companies that want to get into the mobile space. Why? Because every single solitary device is text ready and text enabled. And all of us read our texts. I don't know about you, but have you ever ignored a text? Unless it's from, Verizon that's telling me my bill is ready. 95% open rate. So it's still the easiest, one of the least expensive ways to get into the mobile market. It's often overlooked. It's kind of like the little stepchild of the industry, but it's fantastic. And it's best used when a company is able to develop a relationship with their customer by giving them an alert. I mean, you may know that your banks now will alert you if your balance goes below a certain level. It's used for polling. Certainly we know it's used for voting, if you remember the days of American Idol, which is still on. Contests is another great way to use an SMS campaign. And then if you go to rock concerts, you'll often see text to screen, and that in a sense gives an opportunity for the rock band to get close to their fans and be able to send them other alerts about where they're going to be appearing. Let's take a look at Skinny Water for a second. This is how you normally see an SMS campaign run, where you have in some kind of print media, you'll see a call to action with a keyword. In this case, it's Skinny Water. Text it to a short code, which is a number that has fewer digits than a typical telephone number. And the reason that I like this campaign is that it actually illustrates a couple of good things. One is that Skinny Water partnered with a couple of other vendors in this case. In this case, they knew that people who were interested in a dietetic product would also be interested in health, and therefore they partnered with health clubs. In this case, it's Cardinal Fitness. They also did a partnership with New York Sports Club, with Walgreens, and everybody is a winner in this campaign. If you notice, for those of you who can't see, everybody who enters gets a week's free membership. Then you've got another master winner, a grand prize winner, and they're going to receive a full year's membership. But everybody can also be eligible to win a couple of giveaways to another store called Marsh's. And why do they need to partner? Because all of these places will then put in print material that will then advertise the campaign. Because you're never really going to know about a text campaign until you have it in print. So, mobile optimized websites. 50% of users would not recommend a business with a poorly designed mobile site. Now, where did I get that from? That number actually came from Google. Google recently published, I don't know if you know this, a mobile playbook that they produced it about a week or two ago, which was perfect timing for me. And they came up with this amazing statistic. So, and of course, what it was is it was really a guide for developing mobile optimized websites. We aren't realizing, what many, many, many businesses aren't realizing is that everybody is searching the web on their phones. What does your website look like when it's on the phone? When it's on the pad, it's going to look differently. So a good rule of thumb is to always remember, and this is like my magic golden rule, to give your customers what they need to know when they're on the go. Because generally, when people are on a mobile device, they are not looking for the same type of information that they're looking for when they're checking your website out on a desktop PC. So a couple of rules of thumb are that you really need to design your site to be easy to read, easy to navigate, easy to load. You need to optimize it for both the horizontal as well as the vertical orientation. You need to make it very simple to convert. Do not have long registration forms that you have to fill out. People can't stand doing that. I like to say you've got to use thumb-friendly buttons, because a lot of times, I don't know if you've gone to this and you're just pushing on something like this, and all of a sudden your finger's too big for the button that they have, and then you have to scroll and open it, which annoys people and causes them to leave. Definitely use HTML5 and not use Flash for interactivity and animation, because you know that the Apple operating system will not support Flash. Put in local identifiers, because it's really, really key that your business is found in mobile web browsing. So always put your address, always put your location, always claim your place on Google Places and on Yahoo and Bing Local. Really important. Google actually has this amazing resource that they just created, where you can test your site at this www.howtogomo.com. And you can actually put your URL in, and it'll show you what it looks like on a mobile phone if you don't happen to have that particular device. So it's really good to know that. And you remember, this is another thing that everybody seems to forget, is that if you are email marketers, and a lot of businesses are still communicating with their customers by email, you have to know what your email newsletter is going to look like on a mobile device, and it needs to be optimized. That and any of your custom landing pages. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. Most of you have seen the American Airlines website. This is their home PC-based website. What it shows you is it makes it very easy for us to find flights and buy tickets, because that's the point of it. And then they also want to sell you hotel deals on the side. But when we're looking at and browsing for American Airlines on our handheld devices, we're generally looking for different information. We're looking for whether our flight is going to be on time. Maybe we need to change our flight because we're in a cab, we're not going to get there in time, or we're at a meeting and the meeting is not going to end in time, or we need to text somebody and tell them when to pick us up. So American Airlines made their mobile website, which is the first design you see on the my right, to be extremely easy to navigate with the information in the order that they think people are really going to use it for when they're searching on their mobile device. Now, the picture on the right is an example of the American Airlines app. What the app is showing is the same thing that the mobile website is showing, but it's showing it in an even easier to follow, understandable navigation. It's very easy to stick your finger on those buttons and click through. And what comes first? View my reservation and check in, because that's logically what you're going to be doing when you're on your way to the airport. The next thing you might have to do is check flight schedules when you have a problem, because you might have to make a change. And then down below, you have booking flights and playing Sudoku. Here, by the way, is what it looks like when you click on the very first check my reservation. So you see how easy it is to read? It doesn't look at all like it looks like on the website. It's designed specifically with the customer in mind. And then, as an extra added benefit, you can have them text you to give you up-to-date flight information. So this is how American Airlines does it right. Branded applications. This is a very dense slide, I'll call it. And that's because the application market is now so immense. I think there are over 500,000 iPhone apps. There are over 400,000 Android apps. And we are doing absolutely everything we possibly can imagine with applications. But there are a couple things to keep in mind. We still have, I think, the best applications are often utility-based applications where they're giving you information that you really want to know when you're on the go. Could be the weather, stock quotes, sports scores. And my absolute favorite is price comparisons. I don't know how many of you, are any of you using price comparison apps right now? It's a fantastic experience. I mean, I just have to share with you, what I learned. Some of you know me. I recently got a dog, which was another crazy thing. But I had to buy one of those gates that you block off the kitchen with, and someone recommended that I go and look for these at a baby store because they had more of them than if you went to Petco or one of the pet goods stores, right? So I went into, I live in Westchester, so I went on Central Avenue, and I went into Bye Bye Baby. And I went over to the aisle that had those gates, and I opened up my favorite price comparison app, which is called Save Benji's. And there's others. There's Red Laser and Shop Savvy and now Amazon Price Checker, which is phenomenal. And I scanned the barcode on the gate, and it instantly showed me where that gate was sold within 5 and 10 miles of where I was. And it showed me that across the street the gate was $10 less. And it matched the SKU code, so it knew that what I was looking at, and I knew that it was right. So I go up to the checkout counter and I said, this gate is $10 less across the street at Bye Bye Baby. And I said, so of course you're going to give me the discount. And the clerk said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, I know, so I bet you will. And so sure enough, I got it for $10 less. These apps also show how much it costs for online, the top 5 online retailers. And over Christmas, Amazon was running a special where they gave you an extra $5 off if you checked an item in a store with Amazon Price Checker and then bought it through one of either their affiliate programs or through them. It's quite amazing. I mean, which is, of course, what's happening to the retail, the big box retailers is they're turning into showrooms for Amazon and Overstock, places like that. Games. How many of you are playing games with your iPhone apps? Do you know what the #1 downloaded app this past month was in the iTunes store? It's called Draw Something. Has anyone heard of Draw Something? Draw Something is, I have to tell you the story about Draw Something, and I'll show it to you. It's actually on if you want to see afterwards, it's on my iPad. And Draw Something is where you actually make a drawing, you follow some friends, have them follow you, and then ask them what they think the drawing is all about. So the app was introduced, I believe, in February of this year. On March 1st, 2 of the main characters from Jersey Shore, it's Vinny and the DJ, I forgot, Paulie or something like that, they tweeted that they were becoming addicted to Draw Something. Okay? Here's Draw Something. And in the tweet they said, we love playing it, we can't stop playing it. March 15th, it became the #1 downloaded app in the iTunes Store. And on March 30th, Zynga bought the game for $200 million. So they affectionately refer to this tweet as the $200 million tweet. That's how important it is to be #1 in the iTunes Store. And in fact, what happens with most apps is that if you're not the #1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the first 10, the average number of downloads that you're going to get for your app is about 10,000. Then maybe the number's up a little higher now, but it might be 10 or 15,000. So if you think you're going to make money on an app, think very hard about it, because if that's the number of average downloads. The second thing to keep in mind about apps is that you actually have an incredible fall-off rate, so that games, which are the most popular, you know, before Draw Something, Words with Friends was the most popular game played, and then Angry Birds. And I tend to think Angry Birds was popular because we all have sort of this internal stress factor that we need to unload a little bit. And Draw Something, the interesting thing about Draw Something is that it showed me that we still want to use these devices to communicate with friends. We're just not communicating through voice. We're communicating through different ways. So I think it's really fascinating. That's become, you know, so important. But what you need to also think about is that a fantastic game has a lifespan of about 90 days, and then people stop playing it. About 21% of all people never look at an app again after they download it. That's still a high number, okay? And after about 60 days, your utility apps don't get used quite as much, and about 30 days is what you find for the rest of the population for fall off. I still love, there are a couple things that I still really love. Content aggregation on the iPad is becoming incredibly important. If you notice, most of us are reading a lot online now, and we have to subscription to the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Huffington Post and Fast Company and all of that. So what I have on my app are content aggregation sites, apps. One is Flipboard, one is Pulse. Have any of you heard of them? Where, yeah, they're fantastic. You categorize the topics that you're interested in. So for instance, I'm interested in tech, and I'm interested in small business, et cetera, and they will feed me up-to-the-minute articles from all in a gorgeous display. And they'll also integrate Facebook and Twitter and all that for me, so that I never have to go and check all of those or subscribe to them. I can just open it up. It's gorgeous, and anybody who wants to see afterwards can look at that. Education. I think that the iPad is an incredible game changer when it came to this. You're going to see a lot of self-paced education going on, which I think is outstanding to help kids that have different kinds of learning styles. There's a company that's based in Weston that I'm familiar with called Ruckus Media. They create, I know the social media managers there. They create iPhone apps to teach reading at various levels. They make it interactive games so the kids don't realize that they're being taught something. And they have a dashboard for parents so that the parents will know how to communicate with the children all about this learning style that they're teaching them, and through the games, you know, Play With Me Pony and things of that sort. Their celebrities have hooked onto this, and there's celebrity spokespersons, which is incredible. And they're doing wonderful, wonderful things. So think in terms of how your app, if you're thinking about developing an app, think about how it can feed into the education market. Meredith Publishing publishes Parents Magazine. They created a whole series of incredible apps to teach math to children, because they know that that's really important. So they're not just promoting themselves, they're doing something educational. Deals and discounts. We all know incredible stories about how you can use deals and discounts. I have about 20 deals and discount apps on my phone. Don't go anywhere without checking deals and discount apps. There's Coupon Sherpa, there's Yowza, there's tons of them, because there's always a way to save money when you go into a store. The one that I'm most interested in and excited about, and Jeremy, I talked about this, is Shopkick. It hasn't quite taken off the way it should yet, but you might not realize this, but when you walk into some stores such as Best Buy, that's a Shopkick sponsored merchant, there is electronic technology in the ceiling that locates you and your phone once you open the app. And they can, what I was hoping was going to happen is I would go into the aisle. I'd be, let's say, I had to buy a projector. Let's say I'm looking for a projector. They notice that I'm doing that because it can locate me in the aisle where I am and serve me an incentive to buy the projector right where I am. All right? And then they'll give me Shopkick dollars that I can use the next time I go as a discount at the store. Fantastic. It's not working quite so well now because I think you have to accumulate 10,000 Shopkick dollars to get $5 off, but the potential is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. just remember, as I said, that I think apps should be valuable, educational, or entertaining. If not, you might not get the traction that you're looking for. App discovery is still a really difficult challenge. If you're not on that television commercial that you see that we've all seen about the iPad, if you're not one of those 4 apps, you're probably not going to be that well known. So the way that you can, if you're not going to be able to engage in a really sophisticated advertising campaign, the next best thing is to be part of what's called a recommendation engine that's housed in other popular apps. Because now that's one of the ways that your app can get discovered. There are sites such as Chomp and AppFire where you can go and get really trusted information about which apps are great in a particular area. We talked a little bit about the decline factor. And also, as many of you do know, that when you're developing for these different devices, you actually have to have a different app for each operating system. That's not the case for the mobile web. It's device agnostic, so that's really good. So those are the kinds of things. There is a terrific PR value you get for a really cool and sexy app. It's just you have to weigh that against what the ROI considerations are going to be. I love to bring up augmented reality. Some of the developers of these apps have now incorporated augmented reality. It's really a system that generates a composite view of a real scene that's augmented with additional computer-generated information. So for example, you want to see what your house looks like painted a different color. You open the app. This is ColorX. You take a picture of your house, and then you can superimpose various different Pantone colors on that. This woman in the middle, you can see what she's wearing, and she can decide whether she looks better in one color than another. Another form of augmented reality is when you can take a picture of, let's say you're on a sightseeing tour, and you take a picture of some great monument, and layered on top of that will be historical information about that. Google Goggles is an example of does that really, really well. I actually heard of an augmented reality app that was being developed that incorporated facial recognition software. So that if you went into a bar, for instance, and you saw somebody that you thought you might be interested in, you could maybe check them out a little bit because you could, it's common to have a phone in your hand, right? And the camera's a two-sided camera, so you could kind of find out information about that. It's a little controversial, but you never know, okay? I thought it was really cool, and I tweeted about it. Okay, so most of you have seen these little black boxes, correct? And probably know how to use them. The way they're used is that you download, each device has to have a scanner downloaded. So you have to go into your app store, and you have to download a scanner. This is still a problem in our country. Overseas, the devices are shipped with them built in already, which it should be because it should work with the camera system of the phone. And I think pretty soon they will start to ship with these QR code scanners built in. But right now, you actually have to go and download it. So that presents a little bit of a problem for some people in the adoption factor. QR stands for Quick Response Code. And what they do, for those that don't know, is that they store a tremendous amount of information. More information than you could normally put into a print ad. And that's why people love them. But they're very easy to generate and often very cost effective. So you're going to see this generated a lot. In the last 2 years, you've had an amazing growth. 2 years ago, you had a couple people experimenting with this. Now everybody is putting these codes on everything. And that's a bit of a problem because they're not thinking about how they're using them. They should really be used to enhance the information, give the customer something that's important and something that's valuable. So it should resolve to a video, to some important data, to perhaps a lead gen form if you think that that's going to work for you, maybe a website. But what happens is a lot of times you scan it and you end up going to a site that really isn't optimized. It's not a mobile optimized website, but you're using it on your mobile phone. So it's a terrible experience and you never start to use these again and you figure, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to show you an example of what I think is a really good use of a QR code. Actually, I have a couple of examples, so I brought props tonight. This came in the mail about 2 weeks ago, and it's a bed and bath flyer. So I opened it up and I thought, oh wow, here's another one of those QR codes. And so, because I'm always got my phone in my hand, I wanted to see what it was. And generally, these things, I figured, okay, what's it going to do? It's going to take me to a bed and bath website, right? But there were a couple of really good things about this. The first is, for those of you that can't see in the back, they put instructions next to the code that talk about the fact that you have to download the scanner. And I tell clients to do this all the time. People don't know. Those of us in the room that are in the industry know, but really a lot of people don't understand that. I think that's great. The second thing they did is they made it really valuable information. So I'm going to show you why I think it's really valuable information. So you all know what you do is you download the scanner, and then it automatically opens up. So this is what this is called. You can pass it around if you want. This is a video about this incredible floor cleaning mitt.
Simply place the North Star beacon in the area you want to clean.
Yeah, you can pass it around.
Indoor GPS, allowing Mint to track where it cleans
So
so it doesn't miss a spot.
you couldn't put that in a print ad. You just absolutely couldn't. It's talking about this whole GPS technology that knows how to take that thing. It's got a robotic engine in it to clean your floor by yourself. Now, you know, when I see something like this, the next time I go into that bed and bath store, I'm going to look at this floor cleaner. Fantastic use of the code. You can just hit it off if you want. I just thought, you know, if I showed it to you on here, it would just look like another YouTube video. But when you see it on your phone, this is what makes it valuable. Location-based services. What is location-based services really refers to any kind of a category of activity where you're interacting with customers based on the location that they're in, because the cell phone, you always knows where you are. Your cell phone carrier knows where you are at every moment. No one else in your life does, but your cell phone carrier knows where you are every time your cell phone is on. So there are a number of different opportunities that businesses are using based on trying to tap into where people are located. And the first is what we call check-in services, which now many of you are familiar with the application Foursquare. Or if you're not, it's an application that allows you to broadcast where you are. You check in and you say, I am here. You have people who follow you. You want to do that for a couple of reasons. The primary reason is because the location, the merchant location, is going to reward you with something free or a discount, thank you, or a discount off of something when you decide when you announce that you're there. And of course, if you, the way Foursquare started was that if you became a frequent customer at a place, you became the mayor, and therefore you got even more benefits. And you were able to then push out, there's an integration that Foursquare has with Twitter and Facebook, so that your announcement went out to a large population. And that was a fantastic advertisement. It was really free advertising for that particular vendor. Now, what happened with check-in services is it's getting a little less popular now. Why is that? Because we all realize that there has to be something in it for us to start promoting a business. So the what's in it for us got a little lost in the equation when only 1 out of every 5 million people could become the mayor of Starbucks, for instance, and get a coupon off. So now you have American Express stepping in, and they're doing an integrated partnership with Foursquare, so that they will then offer you, if you pay at that merchant and you announce that you're there, they will then give you a discount if you use your American Express card. Another form of location-based services is an idea that I saw watching CNBC last week when they had the story on Grocery Inc. on. If you were a ShopRite customer, you can go into ShopRite and they'll give you a device. Kind of looks like a phone. Turn it on, you scan your loyalty card. You know, for those of us that grocery shop, you know, you get these loyalty cards that give you little discounts at the cash register, right? So you whip it out, you scan it, and then you start going down the grocery aisles. And if you go and you scan the item you want to buy right before you put it into the wagon, ShopRite has this, Stop and Shop has the opportunity to serve you an incentive to either buy a different, if it's a cereal, buy a different cereal, or buy 2 for 1, for instance. And at the same time, it's calculating how much you spent so that you can do your budgeting. You can figure out how much you've actually spent before you got to the register. So now it's available as an app in both the Android and the iPhone store. So you don't even have to get this device. You can just walk in the store, not have everybody notice it, and go and get served coupons. That's why this is amazing. Okay, we're all getting incentives. You got to use them. So think about this. The reason why location-based services are so popular is that 95% of smartphone users have searched for local information. That's what you're generally doing when you're grabbing your phone and searching the mobile web. You know, it's where is the location I forgot, where's my dentist, where's this restaurant? And 61% of people called a business after searching, and 59% visited in person. That's incredible. That's why location is so key. And I put this term in solo-mo. For those in the industry, you know, if you're in the social media business, they call it solo-mo, which is social, local, and mobile. And if you're in mobile, it's molo-so or lomo-so, which really refers to the intersection of local targeting with mobile delivery and social media. So the way that location-based services looks now is that you've got these various categories, and we all know about the daily discounts, which are now being served on your phone, the daily deal sites, Groupon, Living Social, Google Offers. Jeremy's going to probably talk more about Google Offers. That's one form of how businesses are tapping into location. Another is payments and inventory management. We know when you're in the car and you want to go to a restaurant, I was in Florida over the winter. I wanted to find a restaurant. I opened up Open Table. It automatically detected where I was and automatically gave me restaurants within a 5-mile radius. Square, does everybody know what Square is? This is Square. Square fits into the top of a smartphone and allows you to be a credit card processor instantly. You set up an account, you download the app, you set up the account, I can take your credit card, 2.75%, no monthly fee, no setup fee versus 3%. Bye-bye banks. Yelp, now we've got the whole review world. A lot of us check reviews all the time. We check reviews on products, which you must do, and on restaurants and on merchants and on now dentists, doctors, they're all in Yelp too. So that's a form of tapping into location as well. We talked about Foursquare and Shopkick. Goala, I think, is gone, right? I think it's out of business now. They were bought. But we're not sure who's doing it with it.
Facebook?
I think Facebook bought it, but we're not sure what's going to happen with it. Mobile commerce. We love mobile commerce. Everybody's buying on the phone. Everybody. Now I happen to have, this is just an example of some flash sale sites. You all know what flash sale sites are? Where they have different sales every week and it starts at noon. So I had an occasion to meet the co-founders of Guild Group last week for lunch. And they mentioned to me that 30% of their business is done on mobile devices during the week and 40% on the weekend. That's unbelievable. It's $1 billion business. We are now, I think estimates have it that mobile commerce will be at about $119 billion in 2 years. That's global. US part of that is going to be about $38 billion. Not bad. We love to shop, we love to buy. But you know, when you're thinking about that, if you're thinking about an e-commerce platform that you want to create, you have to remember that there has to be an integration between the physical world and the online world. That a customer will often search for an item on their phone, but then decide to go to the store to buy it. You know, it's hard to attribute it, which comes into a little bit of a dollar allocation issue. Mobile advertising, I guess we have a couple people that are involved in mobile advertising here. What I wanted to mention really was I just wanted to show that this is just beginning, mobile advertising. I mean, it went from, 2 years ago we went from a little bit of a zero in terms of the Fortune 1000 advertisers. Now there's about 250 of them that are engaged in mobile advertising. And it represents about 25 billion impressions. That's just in 2 years. You notice that the Asian market is the most sophisticated and the most active in this area. So that represents about a $20 billion opportunity. That's what we have to look forward to. Now, I wanted to include this because I recently met the people from Titan. Now, what this represents is what's called mobile retargeting, or it's a form of mobile retargeting. So picture being on the corner of 57th and Lex. And you know, it's a pretty busy intersection. And this phone booth, this is a real phone booth. They really have phone booths still, where you put something in and you can push those metal buttons and dial it, right? This exists there. And Titan actually, you know, has about 5,000 of these placements that they have. So you see our Jerry Still in the Capital One ad. But think about this. Now, I don't know if you do this, but when I cross the street in New York, I generally have one eye on the oncoming traffic and the traffic light, and the other eye maybe on the cell phone. So apparently in this ad, that was also what was happening. And they have Pandora open. They have the app, the Pandora music app open, listening to Adele. So at the same time that person is crossing the street, Titan is serving them. They know that they have this placement of this ad right here. Titan is serving them a call to action banner that says, what's in your smartphone? Download our app. So I think that's incredible. Here's another example. This is a picture of a street corner in San Francisco. And a bus drives by with Gap ads on it. And at the same time, you have, let's say, for argument's sake, let's say it's Pandora. You have that app open. A banner display comes on that gives you a call to action that says, get a coupon at the Gap. Now, you're more incented to do that because your eyes are seeing this bus go by with the Gap ad, right? And these wonderful colors. So you click through, and there's your coupon. Now, for those of you in the back that can't see the numbers, the impressions are about 2.5 million. They had a click-through rate of 1.17, which is amazing on this. So I love this example because it illustrates to me an example of one of the oldest forms of advertising, out-of-home advertising, married with geo-targeting and a distribution system through the most modern mobile device technology you can imagine. I love it. Payments. So this is my lead-in. Okay, this is my little diagram that shows the history of how we made payments over time. And this is a very exciting development. So originally, my little goat represents the barter system. And then when that became a little cumbersome, we moved towards metal and then coins. And then we moved into paper bills. And around about 1920, we had a couple of gas companies and a couple of hotels that created sort of an internal credit card system. But in 1950, Diners Club was introduced, and that's pretty much where we pegged the beginning of the credit card industry. So in the last 60 years, there hasn't been that much innovation in payments at all, until now. So please join me in welcoming Jeremy, who's going to talk about Google Wallet.